Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ania Tamirano, and this is my YouTube channel, Empowering Teachers Worldwide. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about managing a differentiated classroom. I think that one of the biggest challenges that we have is trying to cater for the different needs of our students. Students arrive in our classrooms with a variety of abilities, wants, and needs. And more importantly, they exhibit different learning strengths, styles, and language skills, and we need to be aware of this. So, how can we overcome this challenge? Okay, one of the ways in which we can do that is by implementing differentiated instruction. But what is differentiation? Now, uh, differentiation is never something that we just add onto a lesson. It's something that runs throughout what we do through the planning phase, the teaching phase, and the assessment phase. Therefore, it is what we do to help students make progress regardless their starting points. It means ensuring that all the learners, no matter their ability, their interests, or their context, have the support and the scaffolding they need to meet or to exceed the learning intentions. However, there are a lot of myths around it. It is very useful, but many teachers are a bit wary about what differentiated instruction really is. Let's have a look at some of the myths. Some people think that differentiated instruction is individualized instruction, and it is not. It is true that it offers multiple ways of learning, and although it aims at attending to students as individuals, it doesn't assume a separate task or assignment for each learner. It is also not chaotic. One of the fears that we have is losing control of student behavior. It's a major concern that all teachers share. But in an effectively differentiated classroom, orderly flexibility is the norm. Also, it's not another way to provide homogeneous grouping. Flexible grouping accommodates students who are strong in some areas and weak or not so strong in others. And the goal is to have students work with a variety of peers and with tasks designed to draw on the strengths of all group members, but also to share up students' areas of need. Also, it's not tailoring the same suit of clothes. It's not letting students volunteer to answer questions or grading some students a little harder than others in response to their perceived ability. Such modifications show an awareness of differences in students' needs, but it's not enough to address significant learning issues. Also, differentiation is not just for learners who struggle. Students who have identified learning challenges such as ADHD, visual or hearing impairments, or intellectual disabilities obviously need scaffolding on a regular basis. However, learners who learn rapidly, think deeply, make meaningful connections across content areas also need challenges on a regular basis to grow academically as they should. So, what is differentiation? The reality is this: differentiation is relevant, rigorous, and proactive. It is designed to be robust enough to challenge all learners in the classroom. It is more equitative than quantitative. A learner who has demonstrated mastery of one skill is ready to stop practicing that skill and move on to a subsequent one. Adjusting the quantity of an assignment will be less effective than altering the nature of the assignment to match the actual needs of the student. Also, differentiated instruction is rooted in assessment. Diagnostic pre-assessment should routinely take place at the beginning of a unit to throw light into individual learners' needs and interests in relation to the unit goals. Throughout a unit, we can assess students' readiness levels, interests, approaches to learning, and we can design experiences based on the latest understanding of their needs. Also, differentiation is taking multiple approaches to content, process, and product. By differentiating these three elements, we can offer different approaches to what students learn, how they learn, and how they demonstrate their learning. Obviously, it is student-centered, and it is a blend of whole class and group and individual instruction. And it is also organic and dynamic because students and teachers learn together. Ongoing collaboration with students is necessary to refine learning opportunities so that they are effective for each learner. So, how can we plan differentiation? Planning is one of the keys to managing effectively a differentiated class. And indeed, before you can differentiate effectively, you need to know more about your students so that you can plan and prepare the kind of differentiation that you might need for them. And bear in mind that no matter how much you plan and how well you know your students, unexpected things can happen. They always happen. Unexpected replies, unexpected questions, anything can happen in the classroom. So just because you thought that something might work well doesn't mean that it will be so. Therefore, be flexible, be ready to think on your feet and adapt what you are doing as necessary. This adaptation and flexibility is at the heart of good teaching. If you want to achieve differentiation, the first thing you need to do is get to know your learners. This is harder to do if you have a large class, but if you devote some time in the first few classes or weeks to make notes about learners, that will help you gradually build a file for each of them. This will help you differentiate later on. So your ability to differentiate will depend on how much time you spend with them, how much time you have available to do observations and assessments, how closely you get to observe the learning of different learners, how much support you have from other staff, the size of the class, of course, and the time you have available for planning. Now, the hardest part is when you go into a class cold. That is, when you know nothing about the people you're going to teach. In a situation like this, it can be useful to do some kind of getting to know you activity. For example, asking them to figure out who the rebel in the class is, what their likes and dislikes are, for example, music, books, films, who they think is best at your subject, because you might need their help later on. So this puts power in the hands of the students and lets them see that you are going to be responsive to their needs. Also, set some information or idea gathering activities so that you can find out how much they know about your subject. You can set up short group discussions and move around listening to them, do a quick quiz, a poll, a show of hands, use an app also to do all these things. Students love using apps. Also, ask the group to write down what they want to find out or know about as a result of your time together. Then flick through the answers to get a feel of what they want. Now, if you know ahead who you are going to work with, this makes things much, much easier. The better prepared you will be for differentiating. So still, even if you know what group you're going to have, you could look to see what information is there on file, especially if there are problems you should be aware of. Look at samples of learning from previous years. For example, if there are portfolios, check results of tests or other assignments and assessments, get information from previous teachers, and ask learners themselves maybe to send you a letter or an email telling you about themselves. Now, the way you plan will vary according to the needs of your class and to the format that your school asks you to use. However, you can always have a separate box or a section marked differentiation in your lesson plan where you identify the specifics of the differentiation you will do. Also, you can highlight objectives that you wish certain students to achieve during the class. You can also make a list of keywords and terms that you want everyone to understand. You can highlight a few more complex ones that can challenge the more able students. You can also use a code to identify learners with specific needs and write notes about the strategies that you will use with them. Also, you need to think about the type of planning that would work best for you. So in considering the type of plan or the type of planning that will work for you, maybe think about the following. What prior knowledge or skills learners already have on this topic? What central skill or concept or knowledge do you want your students to grasp in the lesson? Which specific learners need differentiation? Has any learner already achieved this? Who of the in the class might struggle? How are you going to stretch and support content? What element of choice is there? How many levels of complexity are you planning to have? How are you going to manage breakout groups? And finally, what opportunities are there for different groupings and peer learning? One approach to planning is to figure out what level you would expect the main body of the class to be at already, and then think of support or challenge. And this will help you consider potential strategies for differentiation. For example, the top task might be to turn examples of indirect speech into a dialogue using correct punctuation. And the tail task may be to add speech marks into some dialogue that has been written out already. Now, as Piaget reflected, the heartbreaking difficulty in pedagogy is that the best methods are also the most difficult ones. So, I'm not going to paint a pink picture here. Although managing a differentiated classroom isn't always easy, and it is not always easy, I think that the benefits are worth the challenge. So I would like to share a few tips that you can use to meet the challenge of designing and managing differentiated instruction for your learners. First of all, have a strong rationale and share it with students and parents. If students and parents understand, or you help them understand why you're doing what you are doing, and they will contribute, they will help you in your view of the classroom, and they will support you. Also, begin at a pace that is comfortable for you. Take small steps, one thing at a time. If you want to differentiate everything at the same time, you're going to be completely discouraged and you're going to give up. Also, create and deliver instructions carefully. For example, instead of giving multiple sets of instructions to the whole class, give students, individual students or groups of students, task cards. Use simple language and bullet points to support students who struggle. Also, agree on some class rules and promote on-task behavior. Convey to students that this will help them do better quality work. Create a system also to assign pupils to groups to do this quickly and effectively. Also, engage students in talking about classroom procedures and expectations. Have conversations about what you are all experiencing as a group and also individually. Sometimes we don't give ourselves time, and we don't give the students time to reflect and to share the feelings that they have about the classes. And last but not least, plan, and share work with colleagues. This will make your life much, much easier. I would also like to share with you some references that I think that you might find interesting and useful. And of course, if you want to contact me, you can find me here in my YouTube channel. I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Contact me on Gmail if you want further support or you have any questions. And quite soon, my new WordPress blog will be around, so you will be able to find things there too. So bye-bye for now. See you next time.